Hello and welcome to the AccelerateHer podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Pirrie, and as CEO of AccelerateHer, I have got the best job in the world. Throughout this podcast, we're going to hear from some of the incredible female founders that we work with. We'll hear their highs, their lows, and we'll revel in their achievements. We'll cover topics like raising investment, getting a product to market, growing a team, and we'll hear from the people in the ecosystem who have supported them. We're going to hear from amazing founders like Kate Cameron, Danae Schell, and the people who've worked with them like Evelyn McDonald. If this is your first time engaging with AccelerateHer, well, that's a great place to start. But look out for us on social media. You'll find us on Instagram and LinkedIn to see what other events we're running across Scotland. Come along and join us, be part of a vibrant network and part of the family. Now, sit back, relax, and happy listening. Our guest today is an accountant, but don't let that put you off. She's also got a personality. She's the founder of Alvah Accountancy and a self-confessed, relentless problem solver. Nicole Christie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Delighted to have you here. Nicole, I'm going right back to the beginning. Nice. If you can cast your mind back to when you were a wee girl at school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Initially, I wanted to be a farmer's wife.
Ah, okay.
And then quickly realised that that's maybe not what I really wanted. And then I started leaning towards wanting to be an architect. I love design. I love the theory of it all. And then I remember my dad having a conversation with one of his architect friends who basically said, there's no career in it anymore. 7 years at uni, it's a long stint. So then I just kind of was a bit lost. My parents were both in finance, so I think it was probably always destined I would do something money related. And then, ended up panicking at school and decided I would go to college and do accounts.
Fair enough.
And
I did at one point want to be an architect myself and then realised I've not got an artistic bone in my body, so that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
You're more artistic than me.
Yeah,
I could have got away with it.
So I did maths and music was the two things I did really well at school, but I went with the maths angle rather than the music angle. I'll maybe do that again sometime soon.
People talk about them being quite related, though. If you're good at music, you're good at maths, and vice versa.
Yeah, a lot of theory in maths. In music, there's obviously a lot of theory in maths, but in music as well, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And I happen to know you are a good singer as well, so you could make a career out of that.
Maybe not today. I've lost my voice today, but
it's good for a podcast recording.
I know it's terrible timing, really terrible timing. I gigged from age 14 up, and I stopped when I started doing my accountancy exams because it got a bit hectic, but I absolutely loved it. I look back at it with really fond memories, and I would absolutely love to go back gigging at some point. It's finding the time and finding the kind of get up and go to do it and just seeing it as fun rather than anything else.
Yeah.
But I still do a lot of music stuff at home, and I'm always at karaoke. If there's karaoke, I'm there. So
what's your karaoke song?
Normally a Shania Twain number.
Oh.
Or there's a couple of others that people don't know that sometimes I'll just chuck on for funsies. But normally a Shania Twain number.
I'm a crazy little thing called love.
Oh, that's a great one too.
But I mean, what I lack in singing voice, I make up for enthusiasm. So
that's all that matters.
It's all good. And of course, you've managed to keep the music as your hobby. It's not your job, and I think sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah, to do that. Yeah, I've got a habit of creating businesses out of hobbies. And then you lose the hobby element. So music very much is a pastime for me, which is nice.
Yeah. So accountancy, not a hobby.
No, not even slightly. Not even remotely a hobby.
I can hear everyone listening saying, yes, hobbies are meant to be fun. But, spreadsheets can be fun.
Yeah.
So you went to college.
Yep.
So did you go the route, did you then go and do your accounting technician exams, or what route did you take?
So initially I was going to do 2 years at college, and then RGU, or Robert Gordon's University up in Aberdeen, had a programme where you could then do 2 years at uni and you'd have a degree at the end of it. So I'd done my first year at college, got my HNC, and then Johnston Carmichael, an accountancy practice in Scotland, offered me a summer placement. So I did a placement with them, and then it just happened that a firm in Aberdeen were trying to hire a school leaver basically to do an apprenticeship. So I joined a small firm in Aberdeen and did training through them. So I started with my AAT exam, so accounting technician exams, and then later went on to do ACCA, so chartered accountancy route. But So I didn't go to uni, but actually I felt like I sort of lived my uni years a little bit with the training, because they hired a lot of uni leavers. So we definitely seen the pub a few times. But a slightly different route for going into the accountancy industry.
Yeah, I wish I had known that route had been available to me, actually, because I went to uni and I scraped through it. And I think I would have done better just working and earning money and gaining the experience, because, you and I know that there's a huge difference between that theory and actually doing it in practice.
Oh, definitely. And I think for me, I learned by doing. So actually this route was so much better for me. And I must say, I did still struggle with the exams. I just really found them quite difficult. I mean, it's not an easy route regardless, but I really struggled with passing the exams because it just wasn't particularly interesting for me. A lot of it was irrelevant to the work I was actually doing. So that was tough. But yeah, the experience I got was fantastic. And I had more practical experience than a lot of folk leaving uni as well. So I had a real benefit to my career path that way.
Yeah, definitely. So, one thing that strikes me when I look back on my career and my journey to becoming an accountant is that as a trainee accountant, I wasn't really taught anything about setting up a business and about entrepreneurship. And certainly, I was at uni a good number of years before you were training, but I heard that giggle.
It was a quiet giggle.
But I presume, has it changed much? Did you get taught anything about entrepreneurship?
No, actually, nothing at all.
No,
Even with AAT. So AAT was a different angle they go after. It's a lot more practical, those style of exams. But no, there's nothing in there actually about entrepreneurship, which is crazy because you go on to advise so many businesses.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I mean, I did a business degree at Robert Gordon University, and even there was a sort of add-on module I think you could do that was like a small business project.
Yeah.
But I didn't do it. So otherwise you didn't get taught anything about it, and that seems crazy to me now. But I do remember working in accountancy practice, and the be-all and end-all was to become a partner in the firm. Never really thought about setting up my own firm, but you did. Were you thinking about that from your AAT days?
I was always thinking about how people could be doing things better, and I probably annoyed a lot of people in hindsight with me coming fresh out the block, coming into this well-established business, saying, you need to rip out your website, it's crap, you need to be marketing to these styles of businesses, we need to stop doing work for these sorts of clients. And I was probably like 19 years old and they're going, shut up.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about.
And you were probably with more, you said a small firm in Aberdeen, so a more traditional one, I imagine.
Yeah, with kind of 6 partners, all white males. So yeah,
We're all called Mr. something.
Yeah. Yeah. So I very much could see how things could be better. I would not say I ever desired to be one of those men on that panel, but I now see where this has kind of gone. And in hindsight, I definitely had that entrepreneurial flair, even within businesses, of going, this could be 10 times better. Why is it not? And then be really frustrated when nothing changes. So that's my thrownness coming in of like wishing things could be different.
Yeah.
Wait, it's thrawn, dot it? Thrawn. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Stubborn. Yeah, we'll explain that in case anyone south of the border is listening. So what led to you? Because I know, I'm sure your parents were the same. Oh, my daughter's an accountant. That's wonderful, lovely, safe job with an accountancy firm. Yeah. What led to that big leap to go and, because you co-founded?
Yes, Slick. So 5 years ago, so March 2020, co-founded Slick, which was my previous business.
That was a good time to start a business.
That was a bloody scary time to start a business. Really quite terrifying to quit your stable, well-paying 9-to-5 job to then go, do you know what would be really fun? Just as the world collapses, just go in it alone, see what happens. But anyway, there was just a real feeling of frustration for me of being in a much bigger firm. So I'd moved firms by then. You can't evoke change pretty much at all. I would go as far as to say that. And if you do evoke change or create change, you've got to go through so many hurdles. It takes so long. And by that point, the change maybe isn't even effective. So for me, it was that lack of nimbleness. So at the time, been working closely in a cloud team where we focused on adoption of cloud software within businesses. And me and my co-founder at the time decided, you know what, we should just go out and offer this as a service. So Slick started as a business that was going to improve systems within businesses, particularly around the finance function. And it did. And we had a great pipeline, and then we didn't have a great pipeline as the world shut and everyone's budgets just froze and everyone panicked. But thankfully we had clients come to us and say, we really like how you work. Could you actually be our accountants? So Slick pivoted to become an accountancy practice at the time. But it wasn't the plan, and I think that was maybe a bit of the failing there, that we didn't set out to be an accountancy practice. So actually we weren't thinking like an accountancy practice. But anyway, it was great. It was 4.5 years. We hired a couple of staff in that time, served a lot of clients, and decided last year we were sort of running it as two separate businesses, and decided to close that company at the time. But yeah, a very interesting time to take the leap into entrepreneurship. But didn't miss a mortgage payment and made sure everything kept ticking on. So I'm quite proud of that. But yeah, if you're going to ever do it, that's maybe the worst possible time you could ever do it.
It's quite interesting that you said, we weren't thinking of it as an accountancy practice. That could potentially be a good thing.
Yeah, someone actually got in touch the other week who had heard of us before and said, I liked the Silicon Valley feel to it, and I'd never thought about that. And he says, I thought you were a tech company, but we weren't. We were tech enabled, but we weren't operating a piece of software or anything like that. But he liked the fact we weren't showing as if we were a traditional accountancy practice. There's a few accountants in the UK that are kind of operating that model now, where you are a much more modern service rather than the more traditional stuff. But yeah, it was probably a different mindset, but I can see where there were flaws then on when you switch from like a project-based service to an ongoing service, that we weren't quite set up for success, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, all lessons and all part of the toolkit, I think.
And you've taken those lessons into Alvah Accountancy now, which is very much in its infancy. What's that?
It's been unreal. We're 5 months in. I've doubled my turnover. I am hiring frantically. So if you're an accountant looking for a job, I would love to hear from you. And yeah, going from strength to strength. I'm working with a business coach, which has been the best thing I could have ever done. It's the best investment I've ever made. And really honing in on what's the service, how do I deliver it, and how do I do it effectively, and how do I scale it? How do I build this business to scale? So it's really exciting. And one of the breakthroughs I've had kind of recently was most of the businesses I work with don't necessarily have a finance team. Often I am the only person in their business who is finance minded. And it's that thing of, that's quite a bit of responsibility. And how do I set everybody up for success that I work with, not just the ones that have got massive budgets or need me all the time. So I'm working on a few things there to improve the service and make sure that I can give my knowledge wider across my client base. So it's really exciting. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I've never felt so empowered in my whole life. There's something about being solo that has just been like wind under my wings. It really has.
Mm-hmm. That's quite interesting, because my last guest spoke about how difficult it is being a solo founder. And I guess there will be aspects for you, but yeah, you, like that guest, have surrounded yourself with people.
Yeah.
As you say, you've got your mentor and
that's the
coach.
thing. And friends that I've made along the way as well, that I can go to and be like, this is the problem I'm facing. What do you think?
Yeah.
And the thing I've done lately is I've just reached out to people. Like I've been reaching out to other accountants who've done really well, and I really like what they've built, and say, do you fancy a coffee? Like, I'd love to hear more. People love talking about their business.
Yeah.
And it's not seen as competition. It's just seen as like me being eager to find out how they've done it and what would they do different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actively talking to people to try and form what it is Alvah is going forward. So it's great. I love it.
Excellent. Can't wait to see where it goes.
Me too.
But before we go any further with your story, we have a slot in the podcast here, sort of an agony aunt slot. So we've asked the founders that we work with to send us their questions so that we can ask them of the experts that I get on the podcast. And this one struck me as, it's actually a friend of mine who runs her own business has asked me this question. I thought Nicole will know the answer to this one. how do you deal with customers who don't pay on time? And I will say, she actually said, how do you deal gracefully with customers who don't
Okay,
pay
that
on
changes
time?
the tone slightly.
So this is not a one-off customer. This is someone she wants to retain a relationship with.
So there's no easy answer, right? Once you're kind of in that service period and they're actively a client, it's a bit difficult. The thing I always advise clients is either try some sort of payment method where you're getting paid up front so you don't have this problem in the first place, or do it something where you're getting 50% upfront or something like that. For ones that are already onboarded and aren't paying, there's definitely ways of wording emails around like, appreciate you maybe missed this, would love to, kind of catch up here and see what we can do. I think the way people word things is really important. You'd want a little bit of guilt there. You want to kind of say, come on. But I think there's a way of doing it where you're not just outright being really, really direct and really harsh. And there's got to be a bit of empathy there. So yeah, emails, phone calls, a wee WhatsApp, make it a bit more personable and go straight to the person that's actually got power to make the payment. Flat out stop services if it's looking like they're not paying. You're not a charity. That's the big thing. Stop services. Don't do anything further. There's things you can do which are probably not great. I know people where they'll pool services or maybe access to things. You don't always want to do that, but sometimes push comes to shove and you need to kind of give them a reason as to why they need to start paying you again.
It's kind of last resort stuff,
Yeah,
though, really, isn't it?
Really, like, you probably don't want to go down that route if you don't have to. But there are debt collectors and stuff, but that would be really at the end where things are just completely falling apart. But I think having an honest conversation and try and have a bit of empathy that maybe they've forgotten, or maybe it's at the bottom of the list, or maybe actually the bigger question is that they can't afford it and actually they're not your ideal client, even though they maybe feel like it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you want clients that are going to pay you, that aren't going to be worried about paying you and can afford it. The other thing I do with all my clients is put them on direct debits. So I use some tools that just gets them straight on direct debits. They don't have to think about their monthly payment. It automatically comes off. And for me, it's a really quick way to see if someone's not paying and to get on it really quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't feel guilty about asking for money. At the end of the day, you're due your payment. But also don't act like a charity. Don't let it go on too long. And yeah, just have a bit of empathy around the wording. I use Claude quite a lot for just checking my wording's professional and direct, but also got a bit of like, we're all human, things get missed, but I'd really appreciate if you could get onto this.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe think about how you engage with services at the very start.
Yeah. Good advice. So if you've got any hints or tips for this founder and how they might deal with awkward clients, then please do email in podcast@accelerateher.co.uk. And likewise, if you've got a question for one of our future guests, email that same email address with your questions. And if you're sitting on some bills that haven't been paid yet, especially if you're waiting to pay an independent small supplier, go and just, I was going to say get the checkbook out, but that's very old-fashioned. Get your card out and pay those bills. Nicole, great story so far, and you've made it all sound very, I just did this and then I did that and then I did this. But I happen to know there's been a few glitches along the way.
Yep.
And I know you're very positive about it all because everything's a learning experience. So I'm, of course, talking about TaxTorch, which in itself wasn't a glitch, but I know that you, having designed the tax planning tool, taught yourself to code. We need to hear a bit of that story as well, but you're now no longer involved with it. Let's not dive too deep and cause legal problems or whatever, but I'd love to hear your learnings from that, because I think it's important to hear when we get it wrong and have to take a different route.
Absolutely. So TaxTorch set out to be a personal tax planning tool, and this was with a co-founder of mine, and we'd tried to get other developers to build it, and they just couldn't come through. The biggest problem we had was the developers could talk developer language, but they couldn't talk tax language. And how do you get what we know through years of experience out of our heads and convert that into code? So we'd spent a lot of money and tried a lot of different developers and got nowhere with it. And we really got to a point where we thought we had to shelf the idea. And ChatGPT had come out in, I think, the October 21. And I was obsessed. Like, it was my favourite thing of 2021. And I got married no, I didn't get 21. I got married in 2022. So it came out in 22. It was my favourite thing of the year. And then the wedding was also up there. Love you, Ash. So I was just obsessed, and actually I used it as a tool to say, here's my problem, what's my solution? And then started to teach myself how to code using ChatGPT. And quickly I realised that actually, because I know the output, I know the answer, I just need it to convert it into code, I could build the code. So I started building TaxTorch and designed all the back end and learnt loads about databases and data architecture and AWS and lambdas and step functions and all this stuff that I had no idea about before. And it was like a light bulb for me. I absolutely love it. It's so it's so logical, and my brain's really, really great with that sort of stuff. I can follow things and think of it and picture it almost. It's really weird. But yeah, so I started building it, and I learned like user interfaces and stuff, and designed the whole app basically using Figma and loads of stuff. It was great. But the problem was that I kind of got caught up in TaxTorch, I would say. I only owned 10% of the business, and kind of got to a point where things were starting to get a lot of momentum. I'd done the AccelerateHer with AccelerateHer last year, the Barclays one. And that was great. Got the opportunity to pitch at the V&A, which was a highlight for me. And then we'd gone for Scottish Edge, and that was getting momentum. And I was starting to go, hang on, but I'm giving a lot of my time and my resource and my headspace with that. So actually, the end result was me saying, I can't do this anymore. Like I need to step away from this. This isn't actually aligned with what I want to be doing. But the biggest lesson is like, just figure stuff out. Use AI. Like I can't emphasize that enough. You can do so many things with it nowadays. It's fantastic. But also just having a bit of resilience, and also just leaning on people. So a big part of it was just talking to people about my situation. I felt a lot of embarrassment around the situation I was in because I advised businesses. I would have had an immediate red flag if I was my own client saying, you're giving all of this time and capacity to something you don't even own. So there was a lot of embarrassment for me to actually admit this is the situation I'm in. And it wasn't until I'd gone out to Silicon Valley with TechScaler that I said to some of the guys, I was like, I'm actually in this position and I don't think this is right. And just hearing other people talking about it, and it really was a penny drop moment for me of going, yeah, I need to kind of reevaluate what I'm doing.
How had the conversation gone in the early days of TaxTorch that resulted in you having 10%? So it was two founders.
Yeah.
So what made you choose not to go 50-50?
It probably wasn't my choice. I guess the big thing was it wasn't my idea to build TaxTorch, and at no point at the start did I think I would be building it.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, I ended up building it through figuring it out that we couldn't find another way.
Yeah.
So ultimately, at the start, I thought I have a little bit of involvement, but not much, and then it ended up being pretty much my full-time job. So that would be why. And I think I'm someone that would avoid conflict. I'm getting better at it now. But I would feel a lot of things and not say it for fear of probably annoying folk or whatever it might be. And actually, in hindsight, I've hurt myself by not bringing that up right at the start of going, hang on a minute, but if I'm going to put all this time and effort in, we need to maybe readjust things a bit. But that's a learning lesson for me as well. One, around getting into business with people and really, really asking the hard questions. Ultimately, I know what I bring to the table, but it's okay to ask the questions of the other person you're getting into business with. Whereas I felt like I couldn't ask those questions.
Yeah.
That's probably naivety and whatever else that goes along with it.
Well, I've seen a big change in you from when we first met.
Yeah.
And you came along to that first AccelerateHer meetup in Aberdeen to the person that's sitting in front of me now,
Yeah.
who's very, very confident.
Yeah.
So I can imagine you were a different person back then.
Oh,
and,
completely.
Absolutely no judgment there, and when asked the question, it wasn't about, I can't believe you accepted that. It was just curious to know. Because I think there'll be many people listening that have wound up in similar situations.
Yeah. And I would say last year was like completely transformational for me, both in business and probably my personal, how I view myself and how I view my own worth. So I think there was a lot around feeling like I couldn't ask the questions and maybe not feeling like I actually brought a whole load of value. I think it's when you start talking to other founders that you go, actually, I'm shit hot. Like, I've got ace skills, I've got an ace mindset, I've got an ace work ethic. I bring a lot, and actually saying I deserve a lot too.
Yeah.
And being kind but fair about what you need as well to continue with things.
Yeah. And I mean, in theory, anyone could teach themselves to code. You
Oh yeah,
chat
absolutely.
GPT,
I'll
but,
teach you too.
but not everyone would.
No.
You know, and you put in the time and the effort to do that. So,
Yeah.
you know, really demonstrated that relentless problem solving.
Absolutely. It's almost, I'd probably go as far as it's an obsession with problem solving.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the best skills to have. That we're all kind of going through life trying to solve problems, and my brain just won't stop until I've solved it.
So I hear you talk a lot about your brain, and the fact that you're neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And I love how open you are, and I love how open everybody has been about that now. And I see in the entrepreneurial community a lot of people with ADHD and such like. And it almost feels like it goes hand in hand naturally with starting a business. Do you think, I don't want to use the cliche that it's your superpower, but certainly is it one of your tools in your box that...
Yeah, I'd say it's both a tool and a hindrance at times. I'm much better at managing it now. But yeah, I absolutely see traits in myself where now that I know I have ADHD, I'm going, actually all this stuff you've done's not normal. There is a select bunch of people in the world that would do weird stuff, but not everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation this morning actually with someone who's also neurodivergent, and also an entrepreneur. And we were talking about how you kind of have to be weird to make a change. Otherwise, you just sort of keep following. And if you're not weird, then you're probably just going to build something that's the same as someone else. And there's maybe nothing new about that. And we think differently. Like my brain is so different from others, both in a good way and a bad way at times. But yeah, I think this way of seeing things different, this sort of belief that I will do anything I set my mind to. So far it's worked. And just like I feel like I don't have fear of failure. Like I'm okay with failing.
Yeah.
I'd just rather try. I'd rather try and find out it's not right than give up.
Yeah.
But there's also like a negative to it. I think that's the problem I have a lot of frustration with, that it's not all like, oh, I've got endless energy. Like I'm also tied to my bed some days because my brain just stops working. So there's often this other side of it that isn't publicised and isn't spoken about around how debilitating it can be. But through getting lots of protein and regular sleep and filling my cup up with like life and stuff, I feel like I'm much more on top of it than I probably was a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
I've not gone down the meds route because I'm worried that I would lose my spark, as people say.
Yeah.
But there could be points where that could be something I might consider.
So did you get a formal diagnosis?
Yeah.
When was that?
Like 2 years ago.
Right.
It took ages, still does. And now they're cutting funding for that, which is really sad.
So, but that has all been part of your process then. So you had all this transformative stuff going round with going to California and Scottish Edge and everything, and that as well.
Yeah.
Wow, what a roller coaster.
A wee one. But it's been great. Like, I think last year in particular was such a intense, like, it's transformational. That's all I can describe it as. It was such an incredible journey. And I am 100% not the same person I went in to 2024 as I left it. And I'm so glad of it. Like, I genuinely think that everything happens for a reason, and everything that did happen last year was meant to happen.
I'm a very firm believer in that as well. As my wee granny would say, what is for you won't go by you.
Exactly.
And it's very true. So, Nicole, I can't believe that Alvah is just going to be an accountancy practice. So what are the plans for that? Because I just have a feeling in my bones that you're going to disrupt the accountancy industry in some way.
That's the plan. So I have built a few things already. It's definitely still in the tech space. So Alvah, the way I'm seeing it at the moment is there's going to be 2 strings to Alvah's bow. There's going to be the service delivery stuff, which is both accountancy things and also the finance process improvement. And then there's this tech piece. And I'm using Alvah, the accountancy practice, as a sandbox for building this tech. Where I'm at just now is I'm building AI agents to do financial tasks, with the idea that there's a real shortage in the industry and it's only going to get worse. Pretty much any document or news article you read about AI taking over jobs, accounting and data entry are always in the top 10 that are going to go. So for me, I'm going, well, businesses still need accountants. They still need business advice and they still need tax advice. So how do I scale that business by building something that can also help other people. So at the moment, I've built a couple of things that help me actually run an accountancy practice. The next step, and where my brain's sort of going with this, is what if I built a full finance team using AI? So that no matter what size of business you are, probably still in the small, medium sector, you wouldn't necessarily need to hire a finance person. The way I'm seeing it is business owners would kind of have this finance team in their pocket without the massive resource that you need and without the kind of old school way that things are delivered. So that's an avenue I'm sort of exploring. I'm having a lot of chats with people and sounding it out, seeing what the thought is. But I absolutely am obsessed with building technology. Like, it is a hobby as much as it is a business. But my big thing is I really want to figure out what problem I try to solve. How do you take it so that I'm building something now that 5 years in the future we need, not necessarily that we need it right now? And how do I become the next big thing? I'm not meaning like the next unicorn. I'm meaning the next big thing that actually solves a big problem. Mm-hmm. And the way I'm drawing just now is, how do I create a finance team in your pocket, basically, for business owners? So that's what I'm exploring at the moment, and I'm loving building stuff and just doing it for fun and not putting too much pressure on it. But I feel like I'm getting closer to the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, I'm building a finance team rather than a finance ledger is where my head's going.
So as someone who spent literally years studying accountancy, I have to admit my blood runs a little bit cold at the thought of you replacing me with Claude or Chat GPT or whatever. How do you know that they're going to get it right? I had a student yesterday tell me that she used Chat GPT to help her do her self-assessment tax return. And I was like, that face you just made is the face I made.
Yeah. So where my head is that just now we've got like three things in the accounting world. You've kind of got this data entry piece where you're dealing with the actual data. You have the compliance piece, which is actually submitting tax forms and doing the accounts. And then you've got audit. I don't think the compliance and the audit piece are ever going to go away. I think you're still going to need humans there. But I think a good chunk of the workload is going to go. I think that data entry point has got to go. I think that will be the first part that will just be automated, and it'll just be the expectation that that's what's going to happen. But I still believe there is a need for people. It's just, can you do the heavy lifting using AI? Mm-hmm. And how do you replicate what I have in my head and what you have in your head to create more of you? If there's less people coming into the industry, how do you get that knowledge out and create something? So my big thing is, I kind of also need to be keeping up with what's happening. At the end of the day, if my business is going to be redundant in 10 years' time, or my skill set's going to be redundant in 10 years' time, I also want to be at the forefront of that and kind of have a bit of control over what the change is. But I think there's always going to be a need for accountants. But I think the skill set is going to be quite niche of what's needed. Mm-hmm. But that's exciting too. I don't know, I just kind of think change is good. Change is good in any industry. And generally the people that don't keep up are going to be, sadly, the ones that are kind of left behind a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think in my lifetime, I reckon by the end of my career, you won't have like huge buildings full of accountants. It won't be a thing anymore. You'll have auditors, I reckon.
Yeah.
Who are probably miserable. But that's the life you choose.
Yes, my auditing days are well and truly over. Nicole, I could sit here and geek out about this with you for a very long time, because it does fascinate me. But we better bring this to a close. So I've got my quick fire questions for you. 5 questions that you can give quick answers to, but on the other hand, knowing you, I suspect they won't be that quick. But we'll give it a go. So, Nicole, what is the best piece of advice you have ever ignored?
Oh, this one's easy. A previous manager of mine told me, you need to decide if you want to be a businesswoman or an accountant. It stuck with me. It royally paid me off. At the time I had a side hustle. I've pretty much always had side hustles of something. And I was busy on my lunch break doing some side hustle work. And yeah, she told me, you need to decide if you want to be a businesswoman or an accountant. So I did both.
Good on you.
So that stuck with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if she would have said that to a male colleague.
Probably not. No, she maybe meant it with good intentions, though. She maybe meant that this isn't the life for you.
Yeah,
but it stuck with me in a, well, why not kind of
Yeah.
And I don't particularly like getting told what to do. So.
No. She was possibly, I'm just going to say this because I'm an accountant, I can say it. She possibly thought you've got too much personality to be an accountant. So.
Maybe. Yeah. She maybe just thought I was just not destined for that life.
I do know lots of great accountants, yourself included. Nicole, I know you've got a great coach at the moment, but if you could have anyone as a mentor for the day, dead or alive, famous or not, who would you have?
Peter Jones.
Oh, didn't even have to think about that.
I think he's great. He's got so much history, right, in his story of what he's built. And I've watched Dragon's Den since I was a kid, that and The Apprentice. And I think Peter, I hope in real life, he's just as personable as he comes across on the telly. I just think he's got a lot of cool stories to tell. And
yeah,
he started some cool businesses at times where he kind of had everything against him. So, yeah, I think he'd be cool to have a day with and just go, tell me everything you know in a day. And I'll pick and choose what I want to take from it.
That would be cool, yeah. A friend of mine met him and she said he was lovely.
Yeah.
Extremely tall and lovely. I'm almost frightened to ask you this one. What's your guilty pleasure to unwind, Nicole? I'm not sure if you ever do unwind, actually. But
no, I really struggle with this, actually. I play the Xbox. Minecraft in particular.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I used to play like PS2 and stuff with my brother when we were kids and I loved it. And then didn't game for a long time. And my husband still games quite a lot and has a whole room in the house dedicated to gaming. And through COVID, we just kind of found ourselves an awful lot to do. So Rash, very kindly, my husband, gave me his old Xbox and I would play upstairs and he would play downstairs and we would play together. And we played with our friends. And actually, I suddenly realised that I, as a adult female, can still do what I was probably thinking of as childish things. Actually, the gaming industry is huge. I often think about maybe that's an area I would love to do. But yeah, for me, games like Minecraft or last year it was like Hogwarts, my brain just switches off. And it is almost like someone switches off a thing. The problem is I find games quite addictive, so I very much have an addictive personality. So I have to monitor how often I'm playing. But I was playing last week just to shut off my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably gaming.
I love that racing game for that. Gran Turismo.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm rubbish at those games.
My son's got the steering wheel set up and just moved to Glasgow and took it with him. How selfish.
I'm watching you then.
Yeah. And so what is the best book, podcast or TV show that you have indulged in recently? And this doesn't have to be a business one either.
Ooh. So okay. So I can't read. No, I can't read. I can physically read.
I'm an accountant who can't read. Trust me.
God, yeah. That's a nightmare. I can read. I can't focus on a book. I just, the words jumble up and it doesn't work. So I will listen to audiobooks instead. So I listened to 10x is easier than 2x. Back in October, actually, Chris told me to listen to it. And it's really changed my way of thinking, really kind of acting as a filter as to whether something's worth me doing or not, and does it get me to that next big step rather than just a little bit further along. So that was good. TV program wise, we don't watch an awful lot of TV, but we're watching Schitt's Creek just now. And I didn't get into it to start with, and now I really love it. And I love the characters and the story and the whole thing. So it's fantastic. That's about it. I've got Cody Sanchez's new book. I've forgotten what it's called. But anyway, I've got that to read. She's incredible. Actually, she'd be a great mentor too. But that's a book I want to sit and actually read, but it'll probably just gather dust, to be honest.
It looks impressive sitting in the coffee table.
Yeah, it does, yeah. It's really intelligent.
Okay, this final question is going to be a challenge for you, Nicole. I want one word, one, to describe your business journey.
I'm going to say relentless.
Ah, that's a good word.
Because you asked for one word and I'm giving you about 5.
No, that's what everyone's done. It's fine. But relentless and then build on it. That's okay.
Because there's loads of things, like could be a roller coaster and all this stuff. But to be honest, I've just kept going. Like whatever I've done, I've just kept going and figured it out and just gone after it and not really let anything get in the way. I don't know if that's naivety or what. Or if there's a part of my brain maybe missing that's going, you should maybe stop and think about this. But I've just kept going.
Yeah. No, I think it's determination, it's resilience.
Yeah, definitely.
I really think you're an inspiration, Nicole. and what you've done and what you've gone through, particularly the past couple of years, is just incredible. I can't wait to see what Alvah Accountancy does.
I know.
What does the name Alvah mean?
So Alvah is a place. So I'm from Banff, which is the very northeast of Scotland. And there's a little area outside of Banff called Alvah. And there's the Alvah Brig, or the Brig of Alvah. And it's this really, really tall bridge that when we were kids, we would jump off of into the river, which, yeah, it's crazy now looking back on it. But it was...
Don't try this at home.
Yeah. It kind of tied me back to Banff and tied me back to my roots, but a word that could mean anything to anyone.
Yeah.
The only thing I realised after was people thought I was saying alpha, as in like Alpha Bravo. I was like, that's not the vibe I'm giving off. But no, that's what Alvah is. It's a tie back to where I'm from, which means a lot to me.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to see you use that practice to bridge the gap between where accountants are now and where they should be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, as I knew it would be. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for listening to me chat to another amazing female founder. I hope you enjoyed that. Of course, this podcast wouldn't have been possible without the backing and support of some amazing organisations. The Scottish Government, who funded this through their Pathways Fund, Barclays Bank for letting us record this in their amazing Glasgow campus, to Podplistic for seamlessly recording this and cutting out all of my bloopers, and of course to the guests for giving their time to come along and chat to me. If you want to hear more about AccelerateHer, please do follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram. Pop over to our website, accelerateher.co.uk, and sign up to our newsletter. I look forward to seeing you at an AccelerateHer event soon.